Yo, welcome back, guys. My name is Dr. Franz Doom, and today we are going to study the rise of nationalism in Europe. In 1848, Frederick Chioru, a French artist, prepared a series of four prints visualizing his dream of a world map made up of democratic and social republics, as he called them. The first print of this series shows the people of Europe and America, men and women of all ages and social classes, marching in a long train and offering homage to the Statue of Liberty as they pass by it. As you would recall, artists of the time of the French Revolution personified liberty as a female figure. Here you can recognize the torch of enlightenment she bears in one hand and the charter of the rights of man in the other. On the earth, in foreground of this image, lie the shattered remains of symbols of absolutist institutions. In Cioru's utopian vision, the people of the world are grouped as distinct nations, identified through their flags and national costume. Leading the procession way past the Statue of Liberty are the United States and Switzerland, which by this time were already nation states. France, identifiable by the revolutionary tricolor, has just reached the statue. She is followed by couples of Germany bearing the black, red, and gold flag. Interestingly, at the time when Cioru created this image, German people did not exist as one united nation. The flag they carried is an expression of liberty hopes in 1848 to unify the numerous German-speaking principalities into one nation-state under the democratic constitution. Following the German people are the people of Austria, the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, Lombardia, Poland, England, Ireland, Hungary, and Russia. From the heavens above, Christ and saints and angels gaze upon the scene. They have been used by the artist to symbolize fraternity among the nations of this world. This chapter will deal with many of the issues visualized by Cioru in Figure 1 in Unit-1. During the 19th century, nationalism emerged as a force which brought about sweeping changes in political and mental world of Europe. The end result of these changes was the emergence of nation-state in place of multinational dynastic empires of Europe. The concept and practices of a modern state in which a centralized power exercised sovereign control over clearly defined territory had been developing over a long period of time in Europe. But a nation state was one in which the majority of its citizens, and not only its rulers, came to develop a sense of common identity and shared history or descent. This commonness did not exist from time immemorial. It was forged through struggles, through the actions of leaders and common people. This chapter will look at the diverse processes through which nation states and nationalism came into being in the 19th century Europe. The French Revolution and the idea of nation. The first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution in 1789. France, as you would remember, was a full-fledged territorial state in 1789 under the rule of an absolute monarch. The political and constitutional changes that came in the way of French Revolution led to the transfer of sovereignty from modern monarchy to body of French citizens. The revolution proclaimed that it was the people who would henceforth constitute the nation and shape its destiny. From the beginning, French revolutionaries introduced various measures and practices that would create a sense of collective identity amongst the French people. The ideas of la patrie, the fatherland, and le citoyen, the citizen, emphasize the notion of a united community enjoying equal rights under a constitution. A new French flag, the tricolor, was chosen to replace the former royal standard. The Estates Generals were elected by the body of active citizens and renamed the National Assembly. New hymns were composed, oaths taken, and martyrs commemorated, all in the name of nation. A centralized administrative system was put in place and it formulated uniform laws for all citizens within the territory. Internal custom duties and dues were abolished and a uniform system of weights and measures were adopted. Regional dialects were discouraged and French, as it was spoken and written in Paris, became the common language of the nation. The revolutionaries further declared that it was the mission and the destiny of French nation to liberate the people of Europe from despotism. In other words, to help other people of Europe become nations. When the news of events in France reached the different cities of Europe, students and other members of educated middle classes began setting up Jacobin clubs. Their activities and campaigns prepared the way for the French armies who moved into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland, and much of Italy in 1790s. With the outbreak of revolutionary wars, French armies began to carry the idea of nationalism abroad. Within the wide swathe of territory that came under his control, Napoleon set about introducing many of the reforms that he had already introduced in France. Through a return to monarchy, Napoleon had no doubt destroyed democracy in France. But in administrative field, he had incorporated revolutionary principles in order to make the whole system more rational and efficient. The Civil Code of 1804, usually known as the Napoleonic Code, did away with all the privileges based on birth, established equality before the law, and secured the right to property. This code was exported to regions under French control. In the Dutch Republic in Switzerland, in Italy and Germany, Napoleon simplified administrative decisions, abolished the feudal system, and freed peasants from serfdom and manorial dues. Peasants, artisans, workers, and new businessmen enjoyed a newfound freedom. Businessmen and small scale producers of goods, in particular, began to realize that uniform laws, standardized weights and measures, and a common national currency would facilitate the movement and exchange of goods and capital from one region to another. However, in the areas conquered, the reactions of local populations to French rule were mixed. Initially, in many places such as Holland and Switzerland, as well as in certain cities like Brussels, Mainz, Milan, and Warsaw, the French armies were welcomed as harbingers of liberty. But the initial enthusiasm soon turned into hostility, as it became clear that the new administrative arrangements did not go hand in hand with political freedom. Increased taxation, censorship, forward conscription into the French armies required to conquer the rest of the Europe, and all seemed to outweigh the advantages of administrative changes.
A few moments later.
For now, guys. I'll upload the Unit 2 video in 2 hours tomorrow.